Hello and welcome to the Beer Temple, episode number 1, something-y something. I am your host, Chris Quinn, and with me, after quite a little hiatus here, longer than people think because we put the canned lager episode out of order because it was kind of a forgotten episode by me. But yeah, it's been a long time. My lovely wife, Margaret Quinn.
It's true. I am quite lovely, if I say so myself. And you're right. It has been quite a while.
Yeah.
It's good to be back in the saddle
again. Yes. And we've got a brewery profile show that we're going to do today. We like to do those every once in a while. And this is a brewery that Margaret and I visited recently when we were out in Northern California. And I have to say, of all the kind of high-profile breweries we visited, this is the one that I really kind of, I don't know, I really liked it. I really liked it.
Yeah, I did too. Because, well, first of all, let's tell which brewery it is. It's Bear Republic out of
Healdsburg.
Healdsburg, okay, because I was concerned that I always feel like I say that wrong. Healdsburg, California, up in just north of San Francisco, in the actually wine country in like Sonoma County.
Yep.
So they were really, really friendly, really, you know, once you've been in wine country for a few days, and, you know, Chris and I were out there for about a week, once you've been in wine country for a few days, you really appreciate beer culture.
Yeah, much more laid back.
Yeah, and not to say wine people were, you know, out of touch or anything like that, but it just beer people just have like a casualness about them that I found really refreshing. After 3 or 4 days in Napa and Sonoma counties. Yeah,
it was fun. We were going to a lot of wineries and drinking wine and talking to people, but you weren't really getting into big conversations. We sit down at Bear Republic and we're talking to the people next to us, you know, within 10 minutes or so. So it was a lot of fun. So we have 3 beers from there. I also have some footage that we shot at the brew pub, the original brew pub out in Healdsburg. And we talked to one of their, I guess, marketing guru people, Dan. And he was a really cool guy, took us around, showed us some stuff, and I'll see if I can get some video of that spliced in as well. They had some really cool, huge oak foeders that they had gotten from a local winery that they're doing a Solera in, which I thought was kind of neat. But before I get into that, I almost forgot I wanted to do my little shout-outs to people. So the first 2 are to M. Sardina. Thank you very much. And also Costello also. And finally, John Graham. So I want to talk about John Graham a little bit. So I usually only give shout outs for 5-star reviews. Now, that's been easy because we've never had a review that isn't 5 stars before. In fact, I was starting to look, we're about to have more 5-star reviews than any other beer review show that there is. There's like brewing shows and stuff like that that have like tons and tons, but of the beer review shows, we're about to have more. So help us, give us a 5-star review. I'll give you shout outs. But this guy John Graham says, he gives us a 4-star review, says you got to earn that 5th star, says you guys definitely have a 5-star show, but I watched episode 96 and Chris, you owe Margaret an apology. Give her an apology on the air and I'll give you 5 stars. So I'm nothing if not a total whore, so that's fine. No, but no, the reality is I asked Margaret, I was like, what do I need to apologize for? And she was thinking maybe because the beer, that was the Coffee IPA show.
Yeah, Coffee IPA show was a little brutal and rough on the palate.
Maybe. If that isn't what it is, I guess I'm sorry for making you drink that beer. Are you kind of glad you drank it, though?
I'm glad I drank it. I never realized a beer could taste so much like hot garbage as that one did. And that was a lesson learned. It's like the more you know,
Yeah.
Hey.
So John, I know you said you jump around on the episodes, so you probably won't hear this one for a while. If you do, leave a comment on this show and let me know what I'm supposed to be apologizing for. If it's for saying something rude to Margaret, maybe you should watch some more shows because that's just how we are. Yeah.
So you can tell Chris doesn't obsess about the 4 or 5-star thing at all.
No.
Not at all.
Anyway.
Let's get to drinking beer.
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out how to put these beers in order. We have 3 beers. We have the Red Rocket, we have the Racer 5, and we have the Hop Rod Rye.
All right.
They're all pretty high alcohol, very high IBU, big hoppy beers. So I'm kind of putting them all in the same order, but they're all about 70 to 80 IBUs. Big beers. So we'll start with the Red Rocket. You know, I was almost sure that Bear Republic dated their bottles, and now I'm seeing they don't. So Dan, if you're watching, get on those guys. Date your bottles. All right? Come on, give us something there.
Yeah.
So I don't know how old these beers are. I don't think they're... That's for Max to taste. I don't know how old they are, so let's hope that these beers are great representations of what these guys can do. The brew pub was really cool. They did a whole bunch of, you know, brewery-only stuff. They also did some really cool stuff with hops. So they were taking experimental hops or hops that their brewers were interested in trying, stuff I had never even heard of before. And a lot of them had never heard before. And they would take at least 2, maybe even 3 if they could, do the same base recipe for the beer and then just use only that one varietal of hops. You could go and try these different things, and they would actually use the customers and the patrons of the brew pub to try to help them develop future recipes.
Makes sense.
That was really cool. Yeah. So anyway,
Red Rocket.
Yeah, Red Rocket is like a red ale, hoppy American red ale, 6.8%, and I think it was something aggressively hopped. Yeah, I don't know how many IBU, but I think it's like 70, and 70 is really big. 65 to 70 IBU. But there's going to be some sweetness in there, so I'm guessing it's not going to taste entirely bitter. A lot of times people get confused with IBU, which is International Bittering Unit, and that all has, the perception of your bitterness is directly related to how much sweetness there is as well. So a lot of times you could be drinking a big chocolatey stout that could be more bitter than a pale ale, but it won't taste it.
So I can totally see why, you know, they call this Red Rocket. You know, there definitely is a reddish hue in this, for sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, just nice.
Really nice. It's
head,
almost like a crimson color to it. Kind of like dark scarlet. Very, very red. Clear, nice little tan head to it. And it's got like a spicy hop character to it.
Yeah, I think spicy, but I also get fruitiness out of it as well.
Big time. I'm trying to figure out what the fruit is, though.
It's almost like a sweet...
Yeah, or like...
I was going to say like apple or something almost.
Yeah, I was going to say apple, or maybe... It's not quite grape, but...
Yeah, like...
Something like that.
Yeah,
sure.
I could see grape for sure. But yeah, it's an interesting fruitiness because it's not like a citrus type fruit that you would, well, you know, more commonly find in beer, at least that, or like a dark fruit. You know, like oftentimes you kind of get those dried fruit qualities.
Yeah.
But no, this is like a really juicy fruit. Haha, no pun intended.
Juicy fruit, like maybe like a spiced apple or something like that. Because I'm also getting a little bit of like a graham cracker out of it, a little bit of like a spicy, not quite cinnamon, but you know, maybe like a baked apple thing going on.
Yeah, I get that too.
It's really nice. It reminds me a little bit of that summer solstice beer we had a couple episodes back. A bigger version of that, but it's very easy drinking. It's got some residual bitterness, but really you're getting that nice sweetness to it, soft mouth feel, and a lot of that kind of malty, fruit-driven, or the fruits are coming from the malt and also from the yeast. I definitely get some of that spicy, like kind of cookie spice going on in there as well, and definitely the American style hops as well. I
don't get like that same, you know, juicy fruitiness that I was getting on the nose. I don't get that in the taste at all, which is fine, like, because you know, I don't necessarily want that in the taste. It's much more hoppy and kind of much more bitter than I would have expected just based on the smell.
Yeah, it's very hoppy. If you start swishing around your mouth, you definitely start getting a lot of that kind of resinous character from it.
Yeah.
But not really the tropical or even the citrus. It's more of kind of like a piney, woody, earthy flavor to it, which goes well with the fuller malt profile. You know, for such an aggressive beer, 7% and 70 IBU, let's call it. It drinks pretty easy.
Yeah, I think this is a good beer. I mean, it's a good...
Quite bitter, though.
It is pretty bitter, yeah. I think this is a good, Wednesday night beer.
Yeah.
Certainly would be good with a lot of different foods. I think it's fairly versatile, but, I mean, to me, this is, screaming for burgers and kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like the bar food type stuff. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I'll say, good solid 90 on it.
Yeah, I'm going to go 90 as well. Maybe 90 plus.
Yeah.
It's right on the edge of 90, 91. I mean, we're being kind of silly at that point.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree.
But it's really a solid beer. I'm impressed with it. And this is like a good 6-pack beer. Luckily, it's available in 6-packs. They have pretty wide distribution, about $10 for a 6-pack for that. Next is a beer that... Oh no, did I break my thing? Did I break this? There we go.
Ooh, Max has broken my nose.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Max, it was not nice, whatever you did just then.
So, Racer 5, I think, is by far their most well-known beer at Bear Republic. One of the classic West Coast IPAs, and an IPA that just a lot of people use as their go-to IPA. For me, I think I'm trying to think of how I was referring to it with Dan. We were talking to him, but I consider this the kind of standard bearer for the West Coast style balanced IPA. Now, that said, this is not a balanced IPA. I mean, this is a big hoppy IPA, but in today's world where you have the Pliny's and all these other crazy, way out there heady toppers and, double citra IPAs and stuff like that, this is, it's just a little bit more balanced and a little bit more, I'll use the term again, 6-packable than some of those other beers.
Yeah. I have to admit, Racer 5, I still do see occasionally in a bar. I never really ordered it much.
Okay.
And to me...
Because it's always there.
Because it's always there. It's one of those beers where it's like, it's there, you just kind of think like, oh yeah, I can get that whenever, and you just don't order it. That said, and maybe this is a spoiler maybe, but I'm ordering this beer a lot more than I used to.
Yeah. Well, again, we'll have to see how this bottle tastes.
Yeah, you're right.
This is a 7%. Yeah, 7%, 70 IBU IPA, a big boy, definitely that West Coast style, which tend to be a little bit drier, and they use all the C hops that we talked about a couple shows ago, Cascade, Centennial, Columbus, and Chinook. I think are the ones that are working here. So you're going to get that grapefruity, piney. Well, let's see what we get first.
Yeah.
But that's what they're using here. Really lovely looking beer, golden clear, with a very nice white head that sticks around. I mean, since we poured it, it's just kind of sat there. So this beer, I can already tell, is a little bit older.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that kind of fruit pop to the top of it.
But I am getting an underlying fruitiness in this beer as well. And it does remind me a lot of the Red Rocket, that same type of, not dried fruit, not citrus, just like juicy fruits.
Yeah, I'm getting, well, I'm trying to think like, it's like a rich stewed orange or something like that. It's not like a bitter orange. It doesn't have that marmalade. It's like a fresh orange that's almost been caramelized a little bit. You do get that same underlying malt profile that you did in the Red Rocket. It's obviously not as rich and full and doesn't have that same kind of Christmas cookie character to it. But you certainly do get it, and it's opening up a little bit. You're also getting some pine. I'm starting to pull out the beers, but when this beer is absolutely fresh, they just kind of jump out at you.
Right.
It's nice, and you're also getting a little bit the kind of green character as well. It's all there. definitely a well-balanced beer. Clean, pretty dry, although there's just a hint of sweetness to counteract the bitterness. After just one sip, you don't really notice that it's incredibly bitter, although at the very end you're starting to get some more of those bitter flavors. What do you get?
There's something at the very end that I can't figure out yet. It's almost like a cerealness or something.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'll be able to identify what that is, but it's like a sweetness, you know, like maybe that's the malt or something. I'm not sure what it is that I'm picking up, but there's something that's like, you know, kind of sitting on my tongue after I take a sip. It's like grainy almost.
So when I drink it, what I notice is first just like you can sometimes taste the presence of hops in there. That kind of I don't know if it's the lupulin that you're tasting or what, but it's kind of that hoppy, resinous character that you can like feel up against your teeth and on your tongue. And it's really kind of in there and very intensely hoppy. It's got, mainly for me, more of the earth and the pine. Then you drink it, you get some of that malt, and you get the fruitiness from the malt as well. And then that's when you're getting more of that orange and the citrus. And then finally, it ends very clean, and you just get bitterness that's just kind of growing on the back. I'm not getting cereal necessarily for me.
You know, it could be like a sweet orange, for sure. Because I think on the nose you nailed that. Like, you know, there is like a sweet orange character, maybe like a blood orange or something like that. Yeah, it could be like that sweetness, like citrusy sweetness coming through for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Really an enjoyable beer. Another one that you would not have a problem putting down.
Right.
My guess is that this beer is probably going on 2 or 3 months old. It's still perfectly fine to drink, but I'm kind of a weirdo when it comes to I want my beers just to be screamingly fresh.
In a lot of ways. So.
Weirdo in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go a little bit higher than I am with the Red Rock. I'm going to go 91, but I do feel that this beer has a couple more points it could pull out of it. You know, it's unfortunate, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't see any bottle coating on here, so if that's not the case, you know, but that's one of the things that, you know, you gotta, if you're at a store and you see one beer and you know when it was dated,
right,
versus one where you have no idea, it's kind of like, what do they call it? The enemy you know versus the enemy you don't know.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
Not that beers are enemies, these are friends. The friends you know versus the friend you have yet to meet.
These are my friends. My wonderful friends.
So I'm gonna go 91 on this beer.
I go a little lower. It's not popping for me like I've had it certainly in California, which is, that's not fair. No. But well, I mean, but you know, even here in Chicago, I've like I said, I've been ordering a lot more, and I've had some that really pop and really kind of shine. To me, this one today isn't quite doing that, so I'm going to go a little lower than the Red Rocket today, but still delicious beer, 88 for me. Okay, yeah, so we're pretty close. And to be fair, we have had this beer in our fridge for several weeks. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's probably the caveat for me today is that it's been hanging around a little longer. Cool. And finally, the Hop Rod Rye. The original rye IPA, according to Dan at Bear Republic, and I was shocked by that, and I kind of did some research, and yeah, I certainly couldn't find an older rye IPA out there. Yeah, so that's cool. We've definitely had them on in the past. We've had Ruthless Rye, and another one that maybe gets a little bit overlooked is the Hop Rod Rye. Really, I haven't had this beer in years. I did not have it at the brewery even, but it's certainly a classic, and you know, it's a big beer. Yeah. You know, it's more of the double IPA. It's even higher. I think it's like 8% alcohol, and I think it's a little bit higher, maybe 75, 80 IBU. And it uses rye in it, obviously. So. Much closer akin to the Red Rocket. Absolutely, even darker, perhaps. Right. Yeah, it definitely has like maybe a little more orange in it to me. Orange. Yeah. Really nice looking beer. It is. All their beers have looked great in the glass and been great in general, I guess. And again, I'm getting that fruitiness. Maybe it's just me today.
No,
but you
I
can
get it.
definitely tell that these beers are all from the same brewery. You know, like that whatever that malt is that they're using.
Or maybe it's the house yeast.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that
true.
I guarantee was.
Right.
Well, I can't guarantee, but I would assume that that's the same yeast across all three.
And the way this smells to me is like if you've ever taken a brewery tour and you walk in and you get that smell of the brewery, like that graininess, that cereal smell. That's what this beer smells like to me, almost like to a T. I like that smell.
Yeah, I am getting as much of that nice, sweet, ripe, stewed, I'll call it stewed orange, orange. And it's really nice. I'm also getting a little bit of like kind of a spicy, peppery character, assuming from the rye.
Yeah. Yeah, those things too.
And, you know, it's hard for me to say what's the yeast or what's the malt or what's the hop here because that orange could come from any of it. Orange.
We're so self-conscious now.
Yeah, thanks, guys. You've given us a complex. We blame you.
Let's give it a taste.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's clear that this is a rye beer to me.
Absolutely clear that there's a rye, and I'm terrible at picking out rye. This is very rye driven. It's also
You're being very rye right now.
yeah, you're be very unrye. It's also the chewiest beer. You can tell it's the highest alcohol. That 1% really just, you can tell it's there, although it's not boozy by any stretch. There's no bad, harsh alcohols or anything like that. It's a fairly clean beer as far as that goes. The hops, I think, are much more in line with the rye, so I'm getting more of that pine, or maybe just because of the rye, you get those hops more. But I'm not getting that citrus the same way. I'm getting much more of the, you know, earthy, woody pine. It works really well, and the end is like just really kind of piney, rye, bitter. Where the other ones were clean, this one's got a lot going on in the aftertaste.
I like this beer is making me smile. I really, really like this beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be finishing this one, like all to myself after the show. Yeah, this is great. I mean, it has been a while since I've had one of these. I think I don't remember everything that I drank at the brew pub, but yeah, this is delicious.
Yeah, I think without a doubt it's the best of the three.
Yep.
I don't know if I like it as much as you, but this is definitely in your wheelhouse. This is the type of beer you like.
Yeah.
It's not entirely bone dry. There's a little bit of sweetness there. It's got plenty of rye character, and it's definitely has the best finish of all three by far.
Yeah.
It's got a really nice complex bitterness, if that makes sense. I mean, there's just a lot going on, and it works very well with the rye.
Yeah.
That bite from the rye and the bite from the hops just are really going together well. You get a little bit of that kind of rye bread on your mouth as well, and
I'm sitting here trying to think, like, what am I going to rate this beer? Because this is one of the best beers that I can remember having on the show. But like you said, I'm partial. This is like...
Well then, no, it's you, this beer to you right now.
And it's like...
Do you want me to go first?
No, I mean...
Okay.
97 for me?
Cool.
98? I mean, it's like, it's really good. It's making me very happy right now.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. I'm going to go a little bit lower than that, but I still think it's definitely the best of the three that we've had. I'm going to go 93 with this beer. I think it's really, really nice. And to me, it's not exact. I mean, it's bitter. It's a bitter beer. But it's not overly bitter. It's not like that Hop 15 was. You know, it's not head-blowingly bitter.
Right.
And it's got enough going on to balance it out. And yeah, I mean, definitely the winner here today.
Yeah.
Not that we have winners. There's no winners. Only losers. And you are the losers. No.
Oh, we're all friends. They're all friends here.
Just losers. We haven't made friends yet. So, man, you're right. That is a really good beer. I just had another sip and it's
delicious.
Very good. Well, that's awesome. I mean, it's nice when we have a show where we like all three beers.
Yeah.
Not sure exactly where I'm going to cut in that interview, so it's going to be a long show. I apologize, guys. In fact, let's cut to it at the end.
Yeah.
So we'll cut to it right now. Well, I'm here with Dan from Bear Republic at their brew pub, the original brew pub here in Healdsburg. Is that what it's called?
Healdsburg, yes. Yeah. It's a tough one for people to pronounce.
It is. And we just had a really awesome tour, and I saw these giant fooders, one of which is right behind us. And I figured, what better backdrop for a quick little impromptu interview. And Dan, if you could tell me what these fooders are for. Well, first of all, thank you so much for
my pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Us. Yeah, and just let me know what's this big thing behind us.
So obviously, big part of the brewing industry right now, barrel aging beer. So we were fortunate enough to get a couple of these 2,500 gallon fermenters from a winery in the Central Coast. This one previously housed white wine, and now it houses Tartar, which is our Berliner Weiss. And some of this beer is probably up to about 2 years old right now. We pull it as needed, so the mother beer stays in. And this is probably, besides Racer X right now, our cultiest, most talked about beer that we've done, and it's with good reason. It's an awesome Berliner Weiss.
So to go into that just a little bit more, so as you pull beer out of it, you put the same amount back, beer back in.
Exactly.
So there's always a mix.
So the first time that we actually packaged this beer, the beer was 18 months old, or a portion of it was. Now some of that same beer is in there, or 2/3 of that is still in there. So we're looking at about two plus years. And so as we pull, we add. So that way there's a good starter for the beer.
And
it's already got a good
complex.
funk. Yeah, it grows more complex. So hopefully the next batch will be better than the first.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's really kind of it's a throwback. We were talking about to sherry or old-fashioned kind of porter. We had talked about porter on the show before, how they'd have these huge tanks and you just constantly kind of drawing and adding and just getting that really nice depth of flavor, and it's cool to see people doing it with a Berliner Weiss.
Yeah, it's unique. I mean, we do a turbine mash, we keep it authentic. For us, it's all about the original methods. So obviously with the West Coast twist, but you don't see a lot of barrel-aged Berliner Weiss, but we do all spontaneous fermentation with our sour beers, and we like to keep it that way because that's the way it's meant to be.
Great. And then so that's probably your cultiest beer, or one of them, but then the beer you're most well known for,
what we're drinking,
is what we're drinking right here, which is Racer 5.
Yes.
Tell me just a little bit about this beer.
So Racer 5, obviously our flagship beer. 10 years ago, this was at the sort of aggressive end of the spectrum when it came to IPAs. Now it's what we like to kind of call your sort of the gateway IPA.
I don't call it the gateway IPA. I think it's just the, as I was telling you before, it's the standard bearer for the balanced American-style IPA.
I like that. I'm probably going to steal that from you.
Yeah, and that's what I consider.
And that's really what like I had mentioned to you earlier, that's what we really go for, is balance. So, Cascade, Centennial, Chinook, and Columbus hops, but balanced by the malt. It's got a nice dryness, sweetness to it. And it's what we sell more of than anything, with good reason. And it's just one of those beers that's it's hard to beat. Why mess with something that's a winner? So we do a number of IPAs and double IPAs, and this one is just, no matter what's on draft at the pub, we sell more Razor than anything else. So.
Yeah, so it's also very available. I think you guys distribute to, I was looking at like 30 different states, which is great. And you can actually get this beer, which is awesome. It's a very, very well-balanced, well-made IPA. So if you guys haven't already had it, go out and try it. I think it's a great example of the C-hop varietals. Great balance, really nice sessionable beer, and one that I really consider it to be the go-to for the American style yet balanced. There's so many different nuanced subtleties to American IPA these days, but I think this is still kind of the classic.
It's a pretty broad, style of beer right now. You look at what the East Coast is doing as opposed to the West Coast, and really, the West Coast from Oregon down to San Diego, everyone sort of has their own niche, and that's the beauty of it. Really, is everyone gets to kind of put their own stamp on it and what they want to call an American IPA.
Exactly.
So it's definitely what we like, and that's what we do. We brew what we like, and that we don't make excuses for it. That's what we brew, and that's what we hope people continue to enjoy.
Well, that's well put. And even here in wine country, you're putting out some world-class beer as well.
I tell you what, come harvest time, you come to our bar, you're going to see the who's who of the Hillsburg winemakers, because they, after drinking wine all day in 90-degree weather or crushing grapes, they're not going to go home and drink a Sauvignon Blanc. They're going to come. They're going to come and have a Racer 5 and mellow out at the bar. So you know, the two do go hand in hand. I mean, obviously with all the barrel aging going on, it works out well. They, you know, they want to get rid of their barrels, and we need them. So it works out well. And
why don't you swing right over there? Just take a little shot right there. All the barrels, all those wine barrels just sitting there. Yeah.
Hopefully some of this stuff will make it out to Chicago.
I hope so.
I'll make it a point to get you guys some good stuff.
Cool.
So that you guys in Chicago can get treated to some of the rarities.
Of this.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out. We'll have to figure out a way to get you some tartar. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much again. It's been a real pleasure, and cheers to that. Thank you. Hey. So that was Bear Republic. Kind of cool how they do that big Solera thing, so they're constantly adding to the top, drawing from the bottom, and I like the name Tartar. That's the name of the Berliner Weiss that they pull out of.
Oh,
it's
that's
called
right.
Tartar.
Yeah. Man, you have a good memory.
Anything dental. Yeah, what do you mean? We just watched it.
Oh, yeah.
We were there probably a while ago, but I do remember that it was called Tartar.
Yeah. Well, I think this has been a really fun show. I've really enjoyed it, and I've kind of gotten reacquainted with really, really delicious beer.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you said it perfectly. Do yourselves a favor, especially if you're in Northern California. Please stop by Bear Republic and have some of their beer.
Or Wine Country, or at your local grocery store or bar, because they do have great distribution. You know, give it a shot. I would say if they don't have the bottle dating, go to a place that you think has moves through their stuff pretty quickly. Ask your store rep, or whatever you want to call it, your salesman, you know, how old it is. If you trust him, you know, he's just, well, half the time he'll tell you, yeah, we just got it in, no matter what. Or go to a bar and have it on tap. You know, not just for Bear Republic, but for a lot of beers that you haven't reacquainted yourself with for a while. You know, just go back, and I always like to do that, even for beers I don't like. In fact, almost especially for beers I don't like. I want to try them again, see if they've adjusted their recipes, stuff like that. So, you know, don't be this kind of one and done beer drinker. You know, go back and try a whole bunch of new stuff.
Cool.
That said, thank you guys so much. Thank you for making us almost the #1 5-star rated show that is beer reviews on iTunes.
I think if we had more Macs, we would probably get, you know, more 5 stars. I'm just saying.
Right here.
I'm just saying.
He just farted. He's gonna bark. Yeah, what are you talking about?
All right.
Yeah. So, thank you guys. Thanks for hanging with us. A little bit long show, but I think it was worth it. Got some cool footage from Bear Republic. I'm rambling on now, but we will see you soon. Until then, we've got some of the best beer we've had here.
Yeah.
And hopefully you do too. That'd be great if you did. So long.